Welcome to the Healthier Tech Podcast, the show about building a healthier relationship with modern technology. Now here are your hosts, R. Blank and Stephanie Warner.
Today we welcome B.D. Erickson to the show. He is a seasoned leader in the high-tech business world with business and science degrees to his name, as well as certifications from Anthony Robbins Master University and Leadership Academy. With over 2 decades of experience in high-pressure leadership roles, he has been recognized for his exceptional ability to build winning teams, create outstanding corporate cultures, and drive company-wide growth. He runs the country's leading clean power manufacturing facility and Montana's most proficient solar company. Throughout his career, he has demonstrated a remarkable ability to sustain high-level team buy-in and thrive in the fast-paced and ever-changing world of advanced American technology manufacturing. We will explore how technology can be used to promote health and well-being and learn from experts in the field. Welcome to the Healthier Tech Podcast, BD.
Thank you, Art. Thank you for having me.
I've heard of SATIC before, in part from Kathy and her colleagues. I did not realize that SATIC, and I don't know if it's the same company or just another company that you do, but was affiliated with actual power suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
It's us. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all the same entity, or is it just you have a whole bunch of things going on?
We have 3 licensed DBAs: SATIC Inc., SATIC USA, SATIC American Manufacturing and Engineering, but we also have SATIC Solar, which is now its own private business, and it's a wholly owned subsidiary of SATIC USA. We've just been growing, and that looks like several things: engineering and manufacturing the products, selling the products, and then working with and installing solar.
So what inspired you to pursue a career in clean, renewable energy?
It's interesting how life, takes you where your path leads as you follow your feet. Growing up in Western Montana, my family actually manufactured solar panels. And so growing up, not only did my family home have solar, but they were panels made by my family's facility. They did not make PV. They did not make electricity. They just made warm air, but they were exceedingly efficient. Later on in life, I ended up in, tech, green, or renewable manufacturing in Hawaii and the Middle East. But upon moving to Montana, I became very aware of EMF and electromagnetic fields and how this dirty electricity, which I knew was damaging to electronics, I became aware of how that was damaging to the biological. And so personal interest and personal pursuit are really what has led me down this path, more than college or desire to be in a field or make money.
Given the highly technical nature of your work and the clean energy sector in general, what are some of the biggest challenges you face in building your business and leading your team?
Well, one of the things that is kind of a misnomer is that, electronics aren't made in the USA and that a lot of our manufacturers are leaving. And while some of that is true, I'm always amazed. I sit on the District Export Council, Montana's Manufacturing Association, and I see all the time these little nondescript or indescript buildings. And when we enter them to maybe work on helping them with importing or exporting or something, these amazing things that are being made around us in our community that I had no idea that business was there and existed, or I've used that product before and had no idea that it was made in my community. I was not an expert in manufacturing electronics. I simply found a market gap. And then, as you dive into business, what are the challenges? My goodness, you don't know what you don't know. And so you think in your mind's eye, here's a product that really has a niche in the market. If we can make it, someone will buy it. But the monumental leap from actually designing and engineering a product, getting tooled up, finding all the component sources to actually make it, getting safety testing like Underwriters Laboratory, UL, and things like that, and then getting proof that it works. Not when you launch a product, especially in this space, people say things like, maybe that's not something you should really worry about, EMF, or the product is too good to be true, etc. So even if I can see it working, or someone else can see it working, you really need to send it to a lab. You need to hire maybe someone like, a building biologist, etc., to get separate, totally third party, conduct their test. So now once you're tooled up and you actually make something that works and you've got proof that it works, now you got to tell the world that you're there. And Nike can tell everyone just do it because they're $1 billion company. Well, what if you're not? What if you're small? And what if you spend all your money engineering and manufacturing? So each of those is a leap. That was a challenge unto itself.
So BD, I'm curious, from a building biology standpoint, you know, you're talking about your focus on clean energy, but you mentioned dirty electricity. So what's the deal with both of these together?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And there's a big disconnect there. And one of the videos that we make, one of the things that we teach is just because it's green doesn't mean it's clean. Energy can be green in that it's renewable. It's not clean by our standards. It has magnetic fields. It has inductance. It has interference. Like, I don't want to bash solar. I grew up in solar. I have solar on my house. I'm the biggest solar installer in Western Montana, but we, for our part, would never install solar without line filters, ever, because we know that we're creating a huge amount of electromagnetic fields, interference, and what we consider to be dirty electricity. And it's been proven to us, for our persons in our business, beyond any contestation, that dirty electricity and EMF are damaging to the biological world. That's bees, that's trees, and that's us. So the disconnect there, I think, is that the communication, what are you saying exactly by clean? So is it clean in a renewable standpoint, or is it clean in an EMF biological healthy standpoint? Because they're very different.
So you're installing filtration for the solar panels, and I'm curious, you know, I don't want to get too nerdy here for our audience, but what kind of results you're seeing? I mean, I want to talk about specific frequencies, but what kind of results you're getting from your solar with the filtration, like a before and after, if you have that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we use the standard meters that everybody does. We walk in with our tri-field. We walk in with our green wave meter, with our Stetzer meter. You know, Static makes its own EMI meter. And we want really good readings before, so that we get a baseline on what the utility is delivering and what the family's making. Because we know, as much as we want to complain about DE, most of us are making it, right? We've got all these DC power devices. We've got all these things. We've got a microwave oven, maybe CFL or LED lighting, dimmer switches. Hey, we're making it. So one of the projects really is to inform the company, the family, inform the family on the causes of DE, where it comes from, and how you can mitigate it at no cost. Because the best way to do it, really, I think, is either turn things off or use them thoughtfully. That's the first process. Then, of course, we want to get them renewable. We'd like to help them go solar, and maybe limit their independence on the utility company and lower their bills. For a lot of family, it's a totally financial decision. But we know, as an engineering firm and as a solar company, that the minute we add solar inverters, micro or string inverter, that we're going to add massive amounts of EMF to this family's home. So now we've got to do a couple of things. One way that we mitigate that is line filters at the panel where we land the inverter, and oftentimes actually using physical shielding, because maybe the two biggest culprits in the DE world are smart meters, solar inverters, and then efficient lighting. Well, these are almost a package deal. Anytime that you go solar, if you want a net meter, Wango Tango, you've got a smart meter now. So maybe the two biggest culprits, the solar inverter and the smart meter, I've just hung both of those on the family's home. Now, when you're trying to cut watts, the next thing they often do is use the energy efficient lighting. I mean, you hit the 1, 2, 3 of dirty electricity right on the head. So what do? Do you not go solar? Do we all move to Oregon and compost our hair? That would be awesome. I love myself. Let's just be realistic. We live in a technological world. So rather than stick your head under the pillow or in the sand, rather than deny these things to be true, face it head on. We make really good LEDs that create no dirty electricity or EMF. We get rid of the dimmers. We put a line filter on the panel, and we put physical shielding. We call it field shield near the breaker panel and near the smart meter. And we make sure that none of the smart meters RF or radiation can penetrate our family's home. And then our guarantee is not only are you have solar, your living environment is safer, your energy is cleaner and renewable, more so when we leave than when we came. That's our written and personal guarantee. And as humans, we honor it and back it up, because many of us are in this field because we have somebody that's EHS. We have somebody in our life that's electro hypersensitive syndrome. That's how I landed in this. And so it's exceedingly personal. And so we genuinely from the heart would not leave a home in a worse biological situation than we found it. It goes against everything that we are.
So you mentioned a few times now dirty electricity, and for those who are members of my Shield Your Body community, you'll have heard about that sometimes from Kathy, but I don't think we've ever actually covered dirty electricity on the podcast itself. So can you, as layman speak as possible, define for our listeners what dirty electricity is?
Sure, of course. And I'm going to rant. I love your website. Like, I've seen your stuff. I've actually been a fan because I feel that we're kindred spirits. I really do. And I've navigated your website and I've seen your stuff pop up. And I've always told my team that whoever this person is, I love them because they resonate at the same frequency I do. And I believe we were drawn from the quantum field. I really do. I'm corny that when people resonate at a similar frequency, that the universe in its fantastic way lines you up. So I'm a fan of yours, and I'm truly honored to be on the show, and I appreciate it.
Oh, shucks. Thank you very much.
From the heart.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
From the heart, man. No, it's true. So dirty electricity. So one of electricity's names, when we're talking about the amperage, is called current. Well, why is it called that? Well, because it moves like water. So let's say that I'm going to get the assignment that I'm going to now clean up a river. So my assignment is to filter this river. So I go into Montana and I hike clear up to where the snow is melting and where the river really begins in the circle of life. No, I'm not going to filter it there. It doesn't make any sense. It's clean. It's literally melted snow. You can drink it. But as I go farther down, dirt's getting in it that might have microbials in it. Maybe animals are passing through it and bathing or doing what other animals do. Maybe an indigenous family is doing their laundry in it. Maybe now we have a factory or some kind of pollutant going in the water. Now there's something in the water to take out. So that's where I'm going to start filtering it once there's something in it. When the electricity leaves the dam, let's say, and these huge maglev machines that create this abundant amount of electricity, how far does it go to get to your house? Well, 200 miles, let's say, just an example. How many car washes and beauty schools does it go by before it gets to your house? And it gets dirty along the way, and in ways that you know about it, you just didn't think about it. So when I was a little kid, coming home from school, I would watch Carol Burnett, right? Gilligan's Island. Well, my mom would come in to vacuum, and when she would vacuum, it would put lines in the TV. Now, as a kid, I thought that was maybe the antenna, but it wasn't. I know now that clean power was going into my mom's Electrolux vacuum, degraded electricity was coming out, and that degraded electricity was now landing on the neutral, the common. So it was affecting the TV. My mom didn't climb behind the TV to plug it in. She plugged it in where she had lots of cord room, but in some fantastic way, vacuuming over there affected my TV over here. Well, that's interference. That's one form of dirty electricity created by that electromagnetic field. We have DC devices, our phone, our laptop, our tablet. They have batteries, so they're DC. And so I can't just plug them in. I need the little $19 adapter that they change all the time because they want a new $19 from me. Now, what's that do? That converts it from alternating current into direct current, which is kind of like clapping. It strobes it, which distorts it. Things coming on and off. When a motor comes on, it pulls from it. It's called an inductive load. Why? It induces, it pulls. Well, these things have an effect on electricity, just like pollutants in water. You get less of the power that's really usable and more of it's distorted. Also, have you heard your sister's blow dryer on your radio? Well, of course you've heard things like this. Crosstalk, interference. A lot of times when we plug our EMI meter in, we get the radio. So when you have two signals passing closely together and they start to crosstalk, that's called interference. So here's a long way to go. What's dirty electricity? It's electricity now that isn't in a really clean, usable form. It has apparent power. It has distortion, harmonics, and electromagnetic fields that do a couple of things. Number one, it lowers its efficiency. That manifests itself in heat. And number two, it creates subsequent radiation. That radiation has been proven beyond contestation to be harming to the biological. So the cleaner that your power is by those standards, the faster your phone is going to charge, and charge cool, not hot like it likes to be. The back of your fridge is cool, not as warm. Your DVR is cool and warm. Your TV picture is clear. Your audio sound is crisp. And the biological are more at ease because to people that are EHS, electro hypersensitive, they can describe a room that's full of dirty electricity or interference as noisy, anxious. I'm not a person that can feel it. And when you remove those things, either by filtering or turning them off, the words we often hear are calm and quiet. Now, as a person that can't feel it, I certainly understand what those two words mean, and so I can appreciate it. So, hopefully a kind of layman's term, when the vacuum messes up the TV, or we can hear a blow dryer on your radio, that is a form of dirty electricity.
So that was one of the best definitions of, layman's definitions of dirty electricity I've ever heard. And I want to get back to your products, but before we do, I wanted to ask, because you've picked a career, obviously, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but you've picked a career, and I know this from personal experience, where we're talking about things that are difficult for people to visualize or understand. Then even when they do understand it, it can be easy for them to not care or to think that they don't have to care. How have you approached these? Because you seem very skilled at talking about this stuff. How have you approached these challenges?
You are exactly correct. We're poo-pooed many times in our genre, in our field, by a couple of things. Number one, this is a problem that I can't see, smell, touch, or taste. And as humans, we really want physical evidence, don't we? We do. It's also something that's not so harming that you immediately notice it. What's that mean? If you step in front of a bus, that is immediately damaging to the biological. If you back into a propeller, that is immediately damaging to the biological. If you're smoking cigarettes, if you're eating unhealthy, if you're not getting fresh air, or even working in a coal mine, that's not as immediately pressing. That's something that's cumulative and takes a long time. Well, you can see a cheeseburger and you can smell cigarettes. Again, this is something more like maybe radon gas that you can't see, touch, or smell, but has been proven to be damaging. And so the first couple of things are, A, they're real and they're measurable, and B, they're damaging. Well, how damaging? Well, a couple of things about that. One person, I was watching TV one night. I don't watch a lot of television, and it was a commercial for a lawsuit. Someone got emphysema from secondhand smoking. Well, we all know people that can smoke 2 packs a day and die at 100. Why? It affects different biology differently. We've all agreed it's harmful, but it doesn't affect everybody the same way. It's also cumulative. Are you smoking 1 cigarette one time in college? I think you're okay. Or are you smoking 3 packs a day? So now we need someone like our building biologist here who comes in and says, okay, let's see what you're living in. Let's see if you're eating 1 cheeseburger a week or if you're eating 4 a day. Let's see if you're smoking 1 cigarette a day or 4 packs a day. And so the next part of that, and I'm sorry for being long-winded, is then people maybe want to say, you're trading in fear, you're dealing in fear, you're trying to make money off scaring people. That one really hurts, because if your person, if your individual body or someone that you love or care about, your child, is being hurt by this, it's exceedingly real. And so then when someone says it's not real, it's insulting at the highest level. And who wants to go on YouTube and have a discussion where you're marginalized, man, or where you're told that you're some kind of a liar or something? It's very challenging. It's a very hard thing. And one of the things I love about a lot of really brave humans is they're willing to stand in the hail and speak and own their truth, even if it's an uncomfortable message. And so that was something that we've had to do too, is just stand in the hail and be willing to speak and own our truth, while some of the biggest corporations in the world make a lot of money from you being connected and aren't necessarily trying to hear a message about you being disconnected.
So, BD, as a building biologist, I'm using or coming into contact with a lot of different companies that filter, a lot of different brands, capacitive filters, inline, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. What is the difference between the static filters and other companies or other brands?
So that's a great question. So Sam Milhelm's book was one that changed my life. Mm-hmm. Dr. Graham affected my life. I've tested the Stetzer filters and the Greenwave filters. Gene at Greenwave is a personal friend. I want everyone to know that while I'm going to say that my products are superior, I'm humble enough to know that I'm standing on these men's shoulders, Kathy. The work that Graham Stetzer did with dairy cows, really showing that, hey, these have a real measurable effect on the biological world. The studies that they did on greenhouses and grows and strawberries, proving beyond any intelligent conversation that the biological world is affected by that. These products are fine. They're a 20 or 30 microfarad X2 series capacitor, in line from the phase to the neutral, and they will remove a lot of harmonic distortion. The issue is We started our company in 2008, and those products were old when we started our company. And I've talked to both of those companies several times, and I love them, and I love the men, and I respect them. And again, I'm standing on their shoulders, Kathy. I'm where I am today because of leaders in our industry. They just haven't updated the product line. When we're talking about alternating current, we're really talking about two waves that we need in phase. It's a voltage wave and an amperage wave. Well, a capacitor works on what? The voltage wave. The amperage wave. But what about the voltage wave? They have no filter on the other wave completely. Number one, they have one component set. It was one component. Well, what happens if that one component goes bad? Well, you're at none. Well, they're made in China. Well, we don't make things in China. We make things in the USA. And let's say you bought 1 million of something in China. What are the chances that 1 or 2 of them are bad? It would almost be impossible, highly improbable that some of them wouldn't be. Also, with the capacitor, it's building to a certain level and then it's releasing. It's like a battery. It's kind of like when you have a leaky faucet and that droplet has to get enough weight and big enough of volume that gravity pulls it and it overcomes the surface tension holding it till it drops. That's how a capacitor works. It builds this charge until it's heavy enough to pass through that permeable barrier. The drop has to get big enough to go. So in my mind's eye, just being an average of intelligence human being, saying that if I've got 1 unit, then it's gonna do that. It's gonna fill and it's gonna release. We use multiple smaller units, many times the same series, the next 2 series capacitor, but lots of little ones. Why? They're not gonna fill and discharge at the same time. So rather than boom, 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 you're going to get, if you will, you're going to smooth that out even more. Next, if you've got 8 of something, we always use Fibonacci series numbers. If you've got multiple of something and one does go bad, if one does fail, if one has a hard life, if one came over not manufactured the best, you're still at 7. You're still at 94, 95% efficiency. That's where we can give our stuff a 10-year warranty because number one, we use products that self-heal, truly so. And we use so many that even if 1 or 2 was manufactured poorly from the manufacturer that we got, if 1 or 2 does have a hard life, even at 10 years, you're not at none. If you have 1 now and you lose 1 now, you're at none. If you're at 8 and you lose 1, you're at 96% efficiency. So a couple of things. Number one, we use a lot more components. We use components of different sizes and different manufacturing types, and they do different things. And we address both waves, the voltage and the amperage wave. The last part of that is when you add too much capacitive reactance, you're going to affect power factor negatively in that you're leading voltage. Now, some people believe that improving power factor will lower your utility bill. The way most utility companies bill it should have no effect on it because they don't bill for reactive power. But you want your power factor to be 95 to 100 lagging. You don't want it leading. Inductance will make those 2 waves. The second wave will start to lag. As you add capacitance, you're going to be able to lead that wave. What's that mean? It's bad for your stuff. Your light bulbs aren't going to last as long. And now they're in landfill. Don't get me started on that. Your phone is charging slow and hot. Your power bill is up. There's some things that it does. And so when we're talking about filtering, Kathy, I tell people a lot, if I'm smoking, is it better to put a really good cotton filter on the end of that thing or quit smoking? So buying filters is not the end all be all. Stopping smoking, getting rid of the common culprits is the best way for your health. When you can't get rid of the culprits or you need some of the culprits now, that's when we add filtering, and less is more. When you see, the packages of a lot of these other companies selling 20 and 30 filters, no, we don't want you to have more than a couple. They actually create their own electromagnetic field. Anything you have a charge capacitor bank, you're also going to create a field. Don't deny it. Be open to all of it and use your eyes and your ears and your powers of perception to, number one, turn off, get away from, remove, address the culprits first, and then use as little filtering as possible. And even though that goes against me selling more stuff, that's the way you're supposed to do it. That's the way you address it. So we also, rather than using lots of really big components in several places, we put a lot more components on a very small circuit board. Our products on the inside look a lot different than their products, so that you can get more little guys into 1 or 2 units and not have to use as many. Sorry, that was long-winded.
Cool. No, that's great. And do you find, in my work with really sensitive people, the best of intentions and devices and shielding and all the things that we use can cause reactions for this population? Do you find that any do you get any feedback that people may be reacting negatively to your filters?
Of course. So, I think some people think that you need to just tell them yes all the time or tell them what they need to hear all the time. That's not true. People can take it. People are tough. It sounds disingenuous if it's all things to all people. It works every time. Here's something initially that a lot of people go through. So let's say they're living in a pretty high EMF toxicity, overexposure lifestyle just by their life, right? When you filter and really reduce that, they usually have a pretty couple hard first days or nights. It's not comfortable. A lot of times it's not just instant ease. They can feel the shift, but they almost have to have a detox, Kathy. Sometimes there's a day or two where they have to adjust now to this new environment. And I think that would happen with any product if you do a good job. So that part of it is just a new environment. But also, some people also will become sensitive to the device itself. And so placing the device is very important. So the 95% of our products wire in at the panel. And what we do is we stage a lot of components in that panel. Why? Because we know it's going to create an electromagnetic field. It's a charged electronic. It's a capacitor bank. It's harmonic rectifiers. It's toroidal chokes. It's all those things. Let's place them, number one, in one spot. Let's not scatter them through the house because some people are going to be affected and sensitive to that. So don't put them all over the house. Put them at the panel. Why the panel? Because there's already a huge field there. It's already there. This is the 200 amp panel where the whole thing is being distributed from. They're not going to put their pillow on that anyways. So number one, recognize that you are going to create a field that might negatively affect some people, address it, and then put it where there already is one. So with our units by the panel, we're not really increasing anything. And we tell people, get away from that dumb thing anyway. That's all part of the gig. So I hope that answered it.
I agree with you too. I do not typically recommend that people spot filter throughout the home unless there's a extreme circumstance where a device that has to be filtered or something. But I agree with you. I'm always recommending that these filters get put in at the panel. And one last follow-up question. And again, I don't want to overwhelm the audience here, but what I'm finding is when these sensitive populations are reacting, it's usually because some of our filters will increase the dirty electricity down in the 2 kilohertz range and below. And I don't know if you've done any testing on that or not, or what you've seen in that area.
Yes, you are correct. So I agree with everything that you're saying so far. We're in harmony on that, use a line filter when you can, wired in at the panel, but then use the plug-in units. Sometimes you have to sparingly in what we call hotspots. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is there's a unique spot. Yeah, sometimes you just got a hotspot. What's a hotspot? Wiring errors create hotspots. And I want to talk about that in a minute because filters exacerbate those. Yep. Or, hey, that's where the neighbor's smart meter's booming right at your house. Mm-hmm. Well, where do waves land? Well, they land on antennas. Every car had an antenna for 30 years. Now it looks like a shark fin, right? Well, what's your wiring? Half a mile of high quality copper. It's a super antenna. So you might have hot spots because that's where your neighbor's smart meter is pointing, or that's where the LTE tower is pointing, or the 4G tower, or God forbid, the 5G tower. And so at that point, sometimes you have to hotspot those, right? And so you have to dress with a plug-in filter that is at that spot. However, if there is like a bonded or reversed ground or neutral, unfortunately, most filters, including ours, will make it worse. It'll exacerbate it because it's changing the natural functionality of the mechanism. Then the mechanism wants to filter it on the hot leg, on the phase coming in, and then put that clean power back on the neutral, which is going to return path. If that's bonded to ground there at that outlet, it can't do its job. And so now you can actually exacerbate it. So one of the things that we like to include with our kit is just an outlet tester. Mm-hmm. They're $19, just an outlet tester to make sure that, hey, your number might be, let's say on a Stetzer meter, you might be at 700 or 800 and you're really freaking out. And you find out that outlet's just wired wrong. You pull the cover off it, you put your pen light in there and you can see that the ground and the neutral, whatever, reversed. Get an electrician for $40 to change that. And now you don't even need a filter because that was it. Mm. But then if you plug a filter, and I guess I'm getting long-winded, we're rabbit trailing here. If you plug a filter into that one, Kathy, you're going to make it worse and you're not going to know why. Mm-hmm. And the average person who bought some plug-in units off the internet, they don't know why. They don't
So
know.
yeah, I think just this back and forth that you and Kathy are having right now sort of answers my next question. But I'm wondering what your thoughts are, because it's my experience, and you know, I don't make or sell products like yours, but people are often contacting Shield Your Body asking about dirty electricity. And my understanding is that it can be very challenging to remediate dirty electricity without the assistance of an expert like your consulting team or like Kathy. Can regular consumers, or do you recommend that regular consumers purchase these things and try to install them themselves? Or do you think, what's the role of an expert in this equation here?
So you're a good interviewer because you just found where the muscle meets the meat, right? Where the rubber meets the road. You really did. Okay. So dirty electricity is real. It's measurable. It's bad for us. We've all agreed at that. You can filter it. We've all agreed at that. Now, next, we want to do it right. And nobody wants to spend more money than they need to. We're all on a budget right now, every single one of us, and you don't want to spend your money unwisely. So how do I deduce where it goes? Is it working? And do I need an expert to do that? When you're asking some of the entries to barrier, Kathy's asking what makes our products better. While I know our products are better, what sets our company apart is our personal help, because the average person needs a level of professional help. Ideally, yeah, you've got Kathy in there with her meter because she's Jedi and she knows what she's doing. Not everyone can have that. We have people on the phone all day, every day, and it's not some call center. It's my team. It's my dad. It's Val. It's my son. My son suffered EHS his whole adult life. He's worked here since he was out of high school. People that will hear you personally, hear your story, understand it at a level that you've probably never truly been heard before, because we have 100,000 of our wiring unit installed. 100,000. We have thousands of people that call here. They have to tell their story. It's somewhat unique to them. Now we have to troubleshoot it. So the nice thing about our products, another thing, is that get our meter and a couple of plug-in units. And you can initially find out what your levels are, find your hot spots. Our kit comes with the things that we talked about. It comes with an outlet tester. It comes with a guide that shows you how the outlet could be wired wrong and how to identify it and how to change it. And a lot of people can do that themselves very easily. We don't suggest that, but a lot of folks can do it. You can certainly see it. Next, you can take your clipboard and look at my lighting, my outlets, my culprits, all these things, and really deduce. And 9 out of 10 people, if they'll buy the kit, if they'll follow the instructions, will get all their numbers under 40. But there's 9 out of 10 that leaves a lot of people that say, hey, this one outlet actually got worse. Hey, this one thing didn't go down at all. Why? They call. And when they call, they don't get somebody in Bangladesh. God love them. They get somebody in Missoula, Montana that goes, okay, are you seeing this? You are. Okay, great. Here's what it is. Oh, you're seeing this? Okay, great. And walks them through it. And with our products, not only is satisfaction guaranteed, we don't give you a 3-day right of rescission. We give you 60 full days of getting the product in, unpackaging it, playing the game, plugging this stuff in, finding out, and then sleeping in the new environment and seeing if this is really for you. And with that is unlimited calls to our tech team to make sure that you get your numbers where you want them. And between the products and our tech team, you either get them where you want, or it's 100% satisfaction guaranteed, money back. You can't lose. And in most cases, it's pretty simple. And I'm winding it up here, but without some professional help, it would have been pretty darn hard, realistically, to figure it out all on your onesie.
Yeah. Well, BD, it's been a real pleasure chatting with you, just getting to know you, hearing the way you talk about these issues, and then doing a bit of a deeper dive into SATIC and what makes you guys special. Where is it you would like our listeners to connect with you?
SATIC Shield is our website, and that's SATIC, shieldregularspelling.com. And what we'd really love to do is we'd love to do a promotion for you guys. We love your website, SYB. We would love to give a promo code. Anybody that would buy from our store at SATIC Shield, if they'd put in the promo code SYB, they'll receive 3 things. Number 1, they'll receive free shipping on the whole order. They'll receive 15% discount on the whole order, and they'll get unlimited free tech support with our team one-on-one to hear their story, to help them use what they've got. And then we'll make a small donation to your website if somebody buys it.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. But I was about to jump in and say, I just want everyone to know we won't earn anything from that.
Yeah, okay. No. He asked me for nothing. But in my humble opinion, when you're out there swimming upstream, the more people that love you up, the more people that cheer you on, the more people that throw their shoulder behind your wheel, allow you and encourage you to raise your voice. And I love what you do. We're kindred spirits. I love your website. So I will not remunerate you, but we love you and we appreciate you. And we want
excellent. And we'll put that code in the show notes and on the website. BD, again, great. You're just, I mean, yeah, this has been a wonderful conversation. Talking about dirty electricity is sometimes not the most fun topic to get into. So I appreciate how you've addressed this today. Thank you for so much for making the time to come on the Healthier Tech podcast.
You have a great show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Healthier Tech podcast. Remember to check the show notes for all the links and resources mentioned in the show. Please like and subscribe to the Healthier Tech podcast on Apple, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice. Get your free quick start guide to building a healthier relationship with technology and our latest information at healthiertech.co.